All right, today on The Explainer, we're diving into something really important. The essential rules that govern psychological research. You know, the rules that are there to protect all of us.
Okay, let me just ask you this straight up. Is it ever okay to expose someone to stress on purpose, just to study how it affects them? I mean, to really understand something like stress, do you have to cause it? It's a really thorny question, and one that researchers grapple with all the time.
Or how about this one? Is it acceptable to, well, to kind of lie to people about what an experiment is really for? Think about it. If you tell someone you're studying their generosity, they might act totally different, right? So sometimes, a little bit of deception might seem necessary to get at the truth. But is it right?
And one more for you. What if somebody agrees to be in a study, but then, halfway through, they feel uncomfortable? Should they be allowed to just walk away? No questions asked? Even if it messes up the entire experiment for the scientists?
Now, as you can probably tell, these aren't just philosophical brain teasers. They are the real-world gut check questions that led to the creation of a very strict code of conduct for all psychological research. It's a whole system designed to help scientists navigate these incredibly tricky ethical waters.
So let's get into it. At the end of the day, the absolute foundation of all research ethics really boils down to this one central concern: preventing harm. Okay, so what are ethics anyway? The formal definition says they're the standards we use to figure out what kind of conduct is good or acceptable. But in research, this isn't about a scientist's personal opinion. Nope, it's a strict professional code. It's the official rulebook for making moral judgments about their work. And the whole point of this entire ethical framework has one main goal: to make absolutely certain that anyone who participates in a study is respected and protected from harm before, during, and long after the experiment is over.
Now, these protective rules aren't just some random list of do's and don'ts. They're actually built on 5 core principles. Think of them like 5 pillars that hold up the entire structure of ethical research.
That's right, just 5. But these 5 principles are so fundamental, they cover pretty much every ethical situation you could imagine. They are the key to keeping all research safe, fair, and focused on genuine progress.
Okay, so the first 2 pillars are like 2 sides of the same coin. On one side, you have beneficence. That's the duty to actively do good by maximizing the benefits of the research. On the other side, you have non-maleficence, which is the duty to avoid harm. This means any potential risk to a participant absolutely has to be justified by the potential benefits. It's this constant balancing act. Do good and actively prevent bad.
Pillar number 3 is integrity, and this one's all about honesty. A researcher has to be committed to a genuine search for knowledge. And critically, that means they have to report all of their findings, whether the results support their theory or completely blow it up. Without that kind of honesty, science just doesn't work.
The 4th pillar is justice, and this principle asks, who's participating in this research and who's actually going to benefit from it? Justice means you can't have one group of people taking on all the risks while a totally different group reaps all the rewards. The burdens and the benefits have to be distributed fairly. And that brings us to the 5th and final pillar: respect. And this one, well, it gets right to the human core of all these rules. It means researchers have to recognize that every single participant has value. Their rights, their beliefs, their privacy, all of it must be honored above everything else. So those are the 5 big ideas. But how do you take these huge principles and actually put them into practice inside a lab? Let's look at the concrete rules researchers have to follow. This right here is probably the most important practical step. It's called informed consent, and it's a 3-part process, not just a signature on a form. First, the researcher has to tell you everything in plain language: the purpose, the risks, the benefits. Second, they have to make sure you genuinely understand it. And third, your choice to say yes must be completely voluntary, with 0 pressure.
Okay, so what about that tricky business of deception we started with? Well, the rules are incredibly strict. It's highly discouraged, and it's only allowed when there's literally no other way to do the study, and the potential findings are hugely important. And this part is non-negotiable. If deception is used, a full debriefing afterward, explaining everything, is absolutely mandatory.
We've talked a lot about what researchers have to do, but let's flip this around. Because if you ever participate in a study, these principles, they become your rights.
Think of this as a participant's Bill of Rights. You have the right to know exactly what you're signing up for. You have the right to choose freely. You have the right to privacy, to keep your info safe. You have the right to quit at any time, for any reason, no penalty. And you have the right to understand what the study was really all about when it's done. These aren't suggestions, they are guarantees.
So these rules give us a really powerful framework. But ethics in research is always an ongoing conversation, and it leaves us with one last, very challenging question.
And this is the question that sits right at the heart of this entire field. When a potential discovery could benefit millions of people, how do we weigh that against the potential risk or discomfort to just a few? There's no easy answer. And that's exactly why these ethical guidelines are so vital. They make sure that this question is asked and answered with the utmost care every single time.